Very good morning and welcome to Breakfast News. In the next 1 hour, we'll get you all the latest news and updates in India and also across the globe. We'll have different segments also from national to international, business, sports and web review also. Correspondents from across the country will also be joining us for the latest updates. So it's a power-packed 1 hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. First up, the headlines. Centre reviews preparedness in 5 states of eastern India, Assam, West Bengal, Odisha, Bihar and Jharkhand to address needs and challenges of current phase of COVID pandemic. 5 critical areas of action highlighted. COVID-19 supplies from the global community allocated to states and UTs by Government of India. 1,764 oxygen concentrators, 1,760 oxygen cylinders, 7 oxygen generation plants, 450 ventilators, more than 1.35 lakh remdesivir vials delivered so far. India's cumulative vaccine coverage exceeds 16.24 crore doses, more than 18.9 lakh vaccine doses administered in the last 24 hours, including over 2.30 lakh beneficiaries of age group 18 to 44 vaccinated in the last 24 hours. Three terrorists killed while one surrendered in an encounter between terrorists and security forces in the Kanigam area of the Shopian district of South Kashmir. Operation still underway. In Tamil Nadu, Governor Banwarilal Purohit invites K Stalin to form the government in the state. DMK President to be sworn in tomorrow. The ceremony would be held in a simple manner at Raj Bhavan premises. Election Commission of India decides to defer by-elections of parliamentary and assembly constituencies in various states and UTs in view of pandemic. Says it would not be appropriate to hold by-elections till the pandemic situation significantly improves and conditions become conducive to hold elections. In an important development, US President Joe Biden to back WTO IP waiver for COVID-19 vaccines, says this is a global health crisis and the extraordinary circumstances of the COVID-19 pandemic call for extraordinary measures. G7 scolds China and Russia over threats, bullying and rights abuses, says Russia is trying to undermine democracies and threatening Ukraine, while China is guilty of human rights abuses and of using its economic clout to bully others. In sports, Istanbul to stage an all-English final of UEFA Champions League. Chelsea marches to final, thrashing Real Madrid 2-0 in second leg with an aggregate score of 3-1. The Blues to meet Manchester City in the final on May 29th. Alright then, let's start with our national news. Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan along with Member Health Niti Aayog Dr. Vinod K. Paul chaired a high-level meeting yesterday with the eastern states of Assam, West Bengal, Odisha, Bihar and Jharkhand. The review meeting assessed the arrangements put in place by these eastern states for containment and management of the COVID-19 pandemic. 5 critical areas of action were discussed for addressing the needs and challenges of recent phase of the COVID-19 pandemic in these states, which has led to an unprecedented surge in number of daily cases and increased mortality. Dr. V.K. Paul stressed for states to ramp up the hospital and clinical management capacities, including effective operation of ambulances, enhanced testing in districts witnessing higher positivity than the national average, and also to take timely decisions to augment HR under the new enabling provisions of the union government. He also highlighted private sector participation in telemedicine services to relieve pressure on public facilities and requested for diligent following of Home Ministry's order on containment measures. At the meeting, DG ICMR reminded the states of the Home Ministry's advisory of implementing lockdown measures in districts with less than 10% positivity and asked them to ramp up on facilities like sites for RT-PCR testing, vaccination and the augmentation of the medical workforce. So, COVID-19 supplies received from the global community have been effectively allocated to states and UTs by the Government of India. The government has been receiving international donations of COVID-19 relief, medical supplies and equipment since 27 April this year from different countries, including United Kingdom, Ireland, Romania, Russia, UAE, USA, Taiwan, Kuwait, France, Thailand, Germany, Uzbekistan, Belgium, Italy, etc. So, 1,764 oxygen concentrators, 1,760 oxygen cylinders, 7 oxygen generation plants, 450 ventilators and over 1.35 lakh remdesivir vials have been delivered so far. And all these relief medical supplies and equipment are being allocated by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in a timely manner to the 38 tertiary care institutions and 31 states, and so far in the first tranche. And this is an ongoing exercise. The cargo clearance and deliveries are facilitated without delay in coordination with the agencies concerned, and the deliveries and further installations, if required, are also being monitored by the Health Ministry on a regular basis. So, India continues to immune its population against COVID-19 in phase 3 of the vaccination program, and the cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country stands at 16 crore 24 lakh 30,828 till 8 p.m. of May 5th. And as on day 110 of the vaccination drive, total 18 lakh 90,346 vaccine doses were given out. Of this, 2 lakh 30,305 beneficiaries were from the age group of 18 to 44 years, received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccination. Meanwhile, the Union Ministry of Finance has clarified that no consignment of 3,000 oxygen concentrators was pending clearance from the custom authorities. The matter regarding the same came up in the Delhi High Court, and the same was clarified by the Government Council. However, the social media has been flooded with the news that 3,000 oxygen concentrators are lying with customs, and the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs have again checked with its field formations, and there is no such consignment lying with the customs. However, since a photograph has also been put on the Twitter, CBIC has said that if anybody has information as to where it is lying, the same may be informed to them and they will take the immediate action. So, transport aircraft of the Indian Air Force are currently carrying out commitments in 4 different locations outside India towards COVID-19 relief ops. While an IL-76 is airlifting 350 oxygen cylinders from Singapore to Hindon Air Base, another IL-76 is bringing 3 cryogenic oxygen containers from Bangkok to Panagarh Air Base. In addition, one IAF C-17 is deployed for airlifting 4 empty cryogenic oxygen containers from Bangkok to Panagarh, and another C-17 is getting 4 more empty cryogenic oxygen containers from Austin, Belgium to Panagarh Air Base. In India, C-17s airlifted 2 empty cryogenic oxygen containers from Vijayawada to Bhubaneswar, 1 from Yelahanka to Bhubaneswar, 4 from Hindon to Bhubaneswar and 4 from Nagpur to Bhubaneswar. And the airlift of 12 cryogenic oxygen containers from Hyderabad to Bhubaneswar, 7 from Bhopal to Jamnagar and Ranchi, 11 from Hindon, Agra and Lucknow to Ranchi and Jamnagar, 2 from Hindon to Ranchi and 4 from Chandigarh to Ranchi is in progress. The global community continue to extend a helping hand in supporting efforts of Government of India in the collective fight against the global COVID-19 pandemic. And as US-4 military aircraft carrying medical supplies have landed in India amid the COVID-19 so far, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has described it as a heroic effort from all those involved. The consignments to India contain 1 million rapid diagnostic tests, 545 oxygen concentrators, 16,300,000 N95 masks, 457 oxygen cylinders, 440 regulators, 220 pulse oximeters and 1 deployable oxygen concentration system. The United States and India have closely worked together to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the US would be sending supplies worth more than $100 million to India in its fight against second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. And talking about Delhi situation of COVID-19, Delhi reported 311 COVID-19 related fatalities in the last 24 hours, and with that taking the cumulative number of deaths to 18,063. And according to a health bulletin yesterday, 20,960 new cases were reported, taking the total cases to 12,53,902. So a total of 79,491 tests were conducted in a day. The positivity rate fell to 26.37% from 29.56% on Tuesday. So positivity rate has indeed gone down from 29% to 26%. And talking about the Maharashtra situation now, 57,640 new cases were registered yesterday, that means in the last 24 hours, and 57,006 patients were discharged, while 920 patients died in the past 24 hours, and currently there are 6,41,569 active cases in the state. Also 38,52,501 people are in home quarantine and 32,174 people are in institutional quarantine. Right, my colleague Shyama Mishra is joining me from Mumbai to give us update on the COVID-19 situation in Maharashtra. Very good morning, Shyama. First of all, around 57,000 cases were registered in the last 24 hours in Maharashtra, but the worrying figure is 920 deaths in the last 24 hours. Cases are declining, recovery rate is also increasing, but again the death toll is a matter of worry.
Definitely, and the state government is trying to control this figure as well by ramping up all the medical facilities that could be provided to all the districts and to all the places where the medical facilities have witnessed a reduction. Apart from that, we are also seeing the numbers, the daily numbers that are being registered of positive COVID cases in the state, that has come to a level where we could say it is plateauing, and almost a week or more than a week it has been coming at the average of 60,000. So when it comes down below 60,000, it is a real matter of relief. But still, through our medium, we would like to urge people that this is not the time that they become complacent about the fact that the whole pandemic situation is easing out. They should still follow all the COVID appropriate behavior, and they should still be on an alert mode, because the third wave is definitely going to hit us. And this is the same thing which our Chief Minister, Maharashtra's Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray has yesterday told people. He was addressing the state of Maharashtra through online means, and yesterday he mentioned about how our various districts in the state have been registering low numbers, but then there are still districts which are registering higher numbers in positive COVID-19 cases. But again, third wave is going to hit us, and many people have told that it could be in July, August or September, and we could only delay the entire third wave, but we could not avoid the fact that the third wave is going to hit us. So we have to be prepared for it, and that is what has been told to the district administration, the district collectors, that they have to ramp up the entire medical facilities. Wherever they see loopholes, they have to fix it, because when the third wave hits us, it should not be seen as that we were not ready, we were not prepared, that preparation has not been done. Everything should be in place so that we would be better, in a better position to face the third wave, if not avoid it completely. But again, we are seeing on the vaccination front, the vaccination drive has become slower because of the fact that there are not enough vials available with the state government. So we are seeing that on a daily basis, only around or below 1 lakh vaccination doses have been administered to people, and till now we are seeing 1 crore 63 lakh people the vaccination doses have been administered to people. This contains both the first and the second doses, but largely it's the first dose, and people above 45 years of age are waiting for the second dose, because here in Mumbai or elsewhere also, it is the fact that if the 18 to 44 age group is being vaccinated, then all the other age groups are stopped, and if 45 years of above age group is beginning to get vaccinated, then the 18 to 44 age group is stopped. So we have to wait for more number of vaccination doses to be supplied to the state of Maharashtra, so that the vaccination drive could pick up pace, and so can we be better prepared for the third wave when it hits us. Abhishek.
Absolutely, Shama, and people need to go out in numbers to get inoculated. And also, talking about the test, Shama, COVID has dropped in city as door-to-door checkups that we are learning has stopped, and the volume of daily COVID-19 tests in Mumbai also has dropped by 40%.
Well, yes, we are seeing that more number of measures were taken out by various the district administration. So the municipal corporation is doing their own bit, and we have seen that Mumbai Municipal Corporation has been lauded at various places and has been presented as a model also. So we have always seen that be it Dharavi or be it other places, they have taken out models which have resulted in good, positive, we could say, outcomes. So here also in Mumbai, we are seeing that the cases are dropping, and because of the fact that more number of tests are being happening every day, and the BMC commissioner himself has said that more number of the entire number of tests that is happening currently, that should be increasing even more, so that we cannot say that tests were less, and that is why the numbers are coming less. But yes, these numbers are the test numbers are being increased, and daily we are expecting this test to go about 40,000 daily, so that even if one person is positive, we could trace the contacts that have been within those 30 contacts of that person, and we could be easily tracing the entire fact that this person has come into contact with this, and there could be a slight chance of infection, and that could be arrested as soon as possible. So these are the measures which are actually helping the city to to deal with the numbers that are coming, that are being registered every day. Apart from Mumbai, we are also seeing Thane, Navi Mumbai, Raigad, Amravati, Nagpur, Nashik. These are the areas that are registering low number of cases. However, like we've already mentioned, that there are districts which have been showing no signs of coming down, no signs of downfall. These are Sangli, Kolhapur, Satara, Buldhana. These are the areas which have not started showing downtrend yet. So we are waiting for the fact that the restrictions, the measures that are being put in place by the different bodies, different administrations, they should start showing results. And Maharashtra, for a real fact, that should come, that should follow the downfall pattern in the terms of positive COVID cases.
Absolutely right. Like you mentioned, Shama, the fight is big, and we cannot afford to lower our guard. We cannot afford to be complacent. And the death toll, like you mentioned, is a matter of worry. 920 deaths in Maharashtra in the last 24 hours. And the figures comes on a day when the Supreme Court praised, in fact, Maharashtra's handling of the second wave of infections and recommending the center to take the note from the Mumbai model. Thank you, Shama. Thank you for bringing us up to speed on COVID situation. Meanwhile, according to the Indian Council of Medical Research, 29 crore 67 lakh 75,209 samples have been tested for COVID-19 so far across the country, and out of this, 19 lakh 23,131 samples were tested yesterday.
कुछ दिन पहले मुझे कोरोना हुआ था। तब 14 दिन मैं घर में थी। हर रोज़ मैं भाप लेती थी, गर्म पानी पीती थी। हर रोज़ मैं योगासन व्यायाम करती थी, और हर दिन मैं सात्विक आहार लेती थी। सैनिटाइज़र, मास्क, इसका प्रयोग ज़्यादा करती थी, और कोरोना की कोई भी डर मैंने मन में नहीं रखा। तब मैं जल्दी ठीक हो गई।
मैं कॉलेज से आई थी तब मुझे कोरोना के लक्षण दिखे तो मैं डॉक्टर के पास गई। डॉक्टर ने मेरी टेस्ट की तो मेरा टेस्ट पॉजिटिव आया तो उन्होंने बोला कि आप घर पे ही आइसोलेट हो जाओ। हम हो गए। फिर हमारे मम्मी पापा ने बहुत केयर की। हमें सुबह जल्दी उठाया और एग्स दिए, काढ़ा दिया, खाने को दिया, सब दिया। डॉक्टर ने जैसा बोला था हमने वैसा सब कुछ बोला, सब कुछ खाया। इसलिए हम अब बहुत अच्छे से ठीक हो गए हैं।
कोविड के लक्षण दिखे जिसके वजह से हम डॉक्टर के पास गए। डॉक्टर के पास जाने के बाद डॉक्टरों ने गोलियां दी और घर पे होम आइसोलेशन में रहने के लिए बोला। और होम आइसोलेशन में रहने के टाइम पे सब हेल्दी खाने के बोले, जैसे एग्स वगैरह और जिससे प्रोटीन्स मिले, और ऑक्सीजन हमेशा चेक करने के लिए बोला था। और जो डॉक्टर ने गोलियां दी थी और आयुर्वेदिक की वजह से आज मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है।
Right, so positive messages coming out of the people of Maharashtra who have recovered from COVID. And going back to the Delhi situation again, like we mentioned, 311 COVID-19 fatalities were reported in the last 24 hours, and the cumulative number of deaths to 18,063. And my colleague Tapas Bhattacharya joins me to bring us up to speed on COVID situation in Delhi. Good morning, Tapas. First of all, update us on the oxygen supply in Delhi. And Delhi witnessed around 21,000 cases yesterday. That means in the last 24 hours, with the positivity rate going down from 29% to 26.37%. And also update us on the how many tests were conducted in Delhi yesterday.
That's right. You're bang on there that the number of facilities is a cause of concern in the national capital. Though the big part that one can think about is the fact that the number of new cases has come down. In fact, it was yesterday it was 20,960 with a positivity rate of 26.37%, which means they on the trot that the policy percentage there is a reduction of 9% if we calculate it. And this is a good news for people who have been talking about the fact that Delhi's rise in terms of this particular second wave has been tremendous, and it has been gasping for breath, gasping for oxygen, as you have pointed out. And we've been told that yesterday, in fact, the number of testing it was over 79,000. In fact, if I may say, it is 79,491 to be precise, which is somewhere in the region of almost 80,000, still less than what it should be. Remember, before this pandemic, this particular wave hit the national capital, Delhi was somewhere in the region of 90 to 1 lakh testing Delhi was conducting. So in that sense, Delhi will be, Delhiites will be hoping that the testing relaxes. Whenever we spoke about people, when we spoke to people or we spoke to the lab people, they're saying that the testing delay has increased. Earlier, one used to get test results within 24 hours. Now that delay has spiraled to almost 3 to 5 days. So in that sense, those are very important things that the administration needs to talk about, needs to ramp up. In fact, Delhi has to ramp up its testing at the same time. Delivery of the results in a period that needs to work on. It is imperative to know that the lab people are actually stretched beyond a limit. We've been told that many of the lab technicians have themselves, got COVID. So in that sense, their work has been hampered in that way. But it is expected that the situation is going to improve in the national capital, and also the oxygen situation has also improved, considering the fact that the oxygen express that the Indian Railways has been running has so far delivered over 450 metric tons of liquid medical oxygen, and that actually has given a lot of breathing space to the administration in the national capital, because remember earlier a lot of people were complaining. There was SOS calls going, messages flooding the social media, where hospitals, be it big hospitals, smaller hospitals, government hospitals, private hospitals, were all complaining about the lack of oxygen. So in that sense, the situation has improved.
Okay. But Tapas, what about the vaccines?
In the national capital, and it is expected to improve further.
Absolutely, it has improved. But again, I was asking you, what about the vaccines in Delhi? What about the people of the age group of 18 to 44 years of age? Are they getting the vaccines easily, or they are struggling?
It is a struggle. It is a struggle. I have to say that. So the 18 to 45 people are very much eager to get the inoculation done and dusted, and that's one of the reason why whenever, even I was in fact trying with my brother to get ourselves a slot, and it is wherever a slot is coming out, it is getting filled up quite fast, and that's the whole point. Especially there are there are parts in the national capital where the vaccination drive has started in its earnest, especially for the 18-year-old, 18 to 45-year-old. But there are parts which are still grappling with the supply, and it is expected that once the Delhi government put in place a system where they have the vaccines at their disposal, and they can inoculate the people of the particular age group that we are talking about, it will help them to get the vaccination process done in a matter of, let's say, 4 to 5 months. But it is as of now, it's a Herculean task, which is for people who
right, the centers and the sites have to be increased, like you are mentioning, and Arvind Kejriwal also said that the latest consignment that we have received is not large. Last question, Tapas, before we wind up with you. Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal, he has strengthened the home isolation system and make system in place where COVID positive patients will get a call after 24 hours when the patient get positive, within 24 hours I should say. Need of the hour, you think, because the patients, so that the patient don't reach that stage that they need to go to the hospital?
Well, this is a great thing about this particular management, that one gets a call from the administration that you're checking out your health. In fact, just to give you an example, my parents themselves are tested positive and they are in home isolation. So in that sense, they've been taken care of. We have also spoken to concerned doctors. People from the local dispensary has also come. The idea is to put them, make them comfortable and give them the confidence that yes, you can stay in home isolation, especially for for elderly, for senior citizens. It is imperative to provide them with the necessary infrastructure, the necessary medicine. If it is not there, and hence the local dispensaries will become even.
Absolutely, Tapas, like you mentioned, it's very, very important. It's very, very imperative. And for the elderly, like you mentioned, home isolation is very, very important. Thank you, Tapas. Thank you for giving us that information. Meanwhile, according to the Indian Council of Medical Research, 29 crore 67 lakh 75,000 and 209 samples have been tested for COVID-19 so far across the country we are talking about. And out of this, 19 lakh 23,131 samples were tested yesterday. And as per the Union Health Ministry, 3,29,113 recoveries were recorded in the last 24 hours, taking the cumulative total of recovered patients to 1 crore 72 lakh 80,844. And with this, the recovery rate currently stands at 81.99%, which is nearly 82%. And India's total active case load stands at over 35.66 lakh today. The country's present active case load consists of 16.92% of the total positive cases, and the fatality rate stands at 1.09%. Notably, India has crossed a landmark milestone in COVID-19 vaccination recording over 16.25 crore COVID-19 vaccine doses being administered so far. And 16 crore 25 lakh 13,339 vaccination doses have been given so far, while 19 lakh 55,733 doses were given yesterday. And also over 4 lakh beneficiaries of age group 18 to 44 vaccinated in phase 3 of the vaccination drive. Moving on to our next story now, 3 terrorists were killed in an encounter between terrorists and security forces in the Kanigam area of the Shopian district of South Kashmir early today. And according to the latest reports, the operation is still underway and further details are awaited. One newly recruited terrorist, namely Tausif Ahmed, has surrendered. And DMK President K Stalin will be sworn in as Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu on Friday at a formal function to be held in Raj Bhavan. Tamil Nadu Governor Banwari Lal Purohit accepted Stalin's claim to the post of Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu after he submitted a letter on his election as legislator party leader. The Raj Bhavan in a release said Stalin had called on the governor yesterday and submitted a letter intimating him of his election. Governor Purohit invited him to form the next ministry in the state and be sworn in on 7th May, that is tomorrow at 9 a.m. at Raj Bhavan. Stalin had earlier said the ceremony would be held in a simple manner on the Raj Bhavan premises. And on Tuesday, Stalin was unanimously elected as legislative party leader of the DMK, and this will be the 6th government to be formed by the DMK in the state since 1967. Stalin will be the 26th Chief Minister of the state and the 3rd of the DMK. Right, our correspondent Philip Matthew joins us to give us more information on this. Good morning, Philip. First of all, DMK President K Stalin will be sworn in as the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu on Friday, that is tomorrow, and it will be a low-key affair due to COVID-19.
That's correct. In fact, DMK President K Stalin has made it very clear that his focus will be almost entirely on managing the COVID pandemic, and he said that will be one of his first priorities on taking office. In fact, he's already set the ball rolling by, setting up teams of officials, senior officials, to address the problem, especially in the districts where the incidence of COVID-19 is at its highest. And he's in fact already talked about setting up a war room to manage the COVID-19 situation in the state. So clearly the ball has been set rolling, and even before he's assumed office, the process of tackling COVID-19 has been set in motion by the new government. So we can expect to see a few more measures being announced once he takes over office. At the moment, the entire attention of the new government focused on managing the outbreak, the second wave of corona that is currently sweeping the state.
Absolutely, Philip. Like you mentioned, amid rising COVID-19 cases across the state, the biggest challenge will be for him to handle the COVID-19 situation in the state. But again, he also said that this is a difficult period, but it is something which we cannot overcome. This is what K Stalin said. Well,
there is no doubt the state is in a rather tight fiscal situation, and with revenues down and the expenditure on account of corona increasing, there's no doubt that the new government has its task cut out. But Stalin has made it very clear that he's prepared to confront the challenge head on. And as I said earlier, he's already set up panels of senior officials to look into the matter, to address issues of oxygen availability, bed availability, as well as ICU admissions as well. So all of these issues are being addressed by teams of officials to ensure that things do not reach a critical situation in the state. For the moment, the state is able to manage with the available oxygen that it has, but many hospital authorities have indicated that things could take a turn for the worse in the next couple of weeks if the rising cases are any indication.
And also, Philip, can you elaborate more on the steps that are being taken by the government to handle the COVID-19 situation? K Stalin doing regular meetings with the health experts and has instructed to create a war room also to manage and monitor everything?
Absolutely. In fact, that is one of the first indications we have from the new government. The fact that they're going to set up a war room to basically tackle COVID-19. It's an indication of the seriousness with which the government is viewing this new outbreak, and it wants to pool the efforts of all government departments as well as agencies to ensure that they're all on the same page when it comes to handling patients who are affected by COVID-19. Because one of the issues with regard to that has been the lack of coordination between various wings of the government, and which has resulted in people having to rush from one hospital to the other in search of treatment for their near and dear ones. And the government is now trying to put in place a system to ensure that the whole process is streamlined, and they say the setting up of a war room will be a major step in this direction. Also, don't forget that from today, a new set of COVID curbs are coming into effect in Tamil Nadu for the next 2 weeks, as per which all shops in the state will have to shut down except grocery and pharmacies and essential services. Apart from that, all shops will have to shut down. Cinemas have been closed. All meetings, public gatherings have been banned, and public transport, only 50% attendance is being allowed from today for the next 2 weeks. So clearly, the government is showing that it's serious about tackling the COVID outbreak, and that it means business when it comes to tackling this new resurgence of COVID-19.
Absolutely, Philip. And Stalin, in fact, vowed to make immediate efforts to implement his party's electoral promises in a phased manner, and also DMK's 10-year vision document. Thank you, Philip. Thank you for giving us those vital inputs. Moving further, the Election Commission has decided to defer by-elections of parliamentary and assembly constituencies in various states and union territories in view of COVID-19 pandemic. The poll body reviewed the matter on Wednesday and decided that due to the outbreak of the second wave of COVID-19 in the country, it would not be appropriate to hold by-elections till the pandemic situation significantly improves and conditions become conducive to hold the by-elections. The Commission will take a decision in the matter at an appropriate time in the future after taking inputs from the concerned states and assessing the pandemic situation from mandated authorities like NDMA and SDMA. And the news coming in, the Rashtriya Lok Dal chief and former Union Minister Chaudhry Ajit Singh passed away today. He was 82. The RLD chief, a prominent leader in western Uttar Pradesh, was admitted to a private hospital in Gurugram after his condition deteriorated due to a lung infection on Tuesday. Ajit Singh had tested positive for the coronavirus on April 20th. The son of former Prime Minister Chaudhry Charan Singh, Chaudhry Ajit Singh was a 7-time MP from Baghpat. He also served as the Union Minister of Civil Aviation. And many took to social media to share condolence messages on Ajit Singh's demise. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed grief over Ajit Singh's demise, and this is what he tweeted: deeply saddened by the passing away of former Union Minister Chaudhry Ajit Singh ji. He always worked for the welfare of farmers. He efficiently discharged the responsibilities of several departments at the centre. My thoughts are with his family and fans in this hour of mourning. Om Shanti. And Defence Minister Rajnath Singh too condoled his death. He said, Ajit Singh served the public and the land and fought for farmers, labourers and other weaker sections of the society. Well, now let's move on to our next segment, where we bring you news from across the globe. Right, first up, let's take a look at updates on COVID-19 from across the globe. COVID-19 has infected more than 15 crore 58 lakh people globally, while over 13 crore 32 lakh people have recovered from it. The number of lives lost due to the disease stands above 32 lakh 55,000 worldwide. The US continues to remain worst affected from this disease. It has registered over 3 crore 32 lakh cases of the disease, with more than 5 lakh 93,000 fatalities so far. And US President Joe Biden's administration on Wednesday announced support for a global waiver on patent protections for COVID-19 vaccines, offering hope to poor nations that have struggled to access the life-saving doses. So, India has been leading the fight within the World Trade Organization to allow more drug makers to manufacture the vaccines, a move pharma giants opposed. US Trade Representative Catherine Tai said that while intellectual property rights for businesses are important, Washington supports the waiver of those protections for COVID-19 vaccines in order to end the pandemic. So, this is the release that we are showing you. Biden had been under intense pressure to waive protections for vaccine manufacturers, especially amid criticism that rich nations were hoarding COVID-19 vaccines. The reactions coming in lauding the United States for extending support to waiving patent protections for COVID-19 vaccines amid the global health crisis. World Health Organization chief has termed the Joe Biden administration's decision as powerful example of US leadership to address global health challenges. And the WHO chief in a series of tweets said that the move was a step towards vaccine equity, prioritizing the well-being of all people everywhere at a critical time. This is what he tweeted. This is a monumental moment in the fight against COVID-19. The commitment by POTUS, Joe Biden and Ambassador Tai to support. The waiver of IP protections on vaccines is a powerful example of United States leadership to address global health challenges. And New York's Major League Baseball teams, the Yankees and the Mets, have announced to give free tickets to fans who get vaccinated for the coronavirus at their ballparks before the games. The announcement was made by New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo, said on Wednesday vaccinated spectators will be seated in special sections of the stadium, with non-vaccinated patrons seated in different sections at 33% capacity. And in a further move toward returning the country's largest city to pre-pandemic normality, Cuomo also announced that tickets to Broadway shows would go on a sale on Thursday for performances beginning September 14th. Theatres will be able to operate at 100% capacity. And in the US, the National Air and Space Museum Udvar Hazy Center has reopened. It has become the first of the Smithsonian museums to reopen after closing for the coronavirus pandemic. Last year, patrons roamed the museum exhibits wearing masks and distancing. The center has resumed operations 7 days a week with COVID-19 health and safety measures in place. The museum features popular exhibits like the Mercury mission's Freedom 7 capsule and the Blue Angels FA-18C Hornet. And India has reacted on Russia's ongoing malign activity with regards to Ukraine, saying that the path forward can only be through peaceful dialogue for a lasting solutions acceptable to all concerned. And speaking at the UNSC Arya Formula meeting on Ukraine, Councillor Pratik Mathur said that India has always supported long-term peace and stability in Europe and beyond.
At the outset, allow me to place on record our reservations on this format of the meeting, as it has been misused in recent past. Normally, issues are taken up for consideration by the UN Security Council only if they have ramifications for international peace and security. There are others which need to be discussed in a bilateral or even a plurilateral context. India has always advocated political and diplomatic solutions that protect the legitimate interests of all countries in the region and ensure long-term peace and stability in Europe and beyond. The path forward can only be through peaceful dialogue for a lasting solution acceptable to all concerned. To conclude, we urge all parties to continue to engage through all channels of dialogue.
Right, so India's reaction on Russia's ongoing malign activity. Moving further, meanwhile, the Group of Seven scolded both China and Russia on Wednesday, casting the Kremlin as malicious and Beijing as a bully. The G7 this week addressed what it perceives as the biggest current threats: China, Russia, and the coronavirus pandemic. G7 foreign ministers in a 12,400-word communique said Russia was trying to undermine democracies and threatening Ukraine, while China was guilty of human rights abuses and of using its economic clout to bully others. The G7 said it would bolster collective efforts to stop China's coercive economic policies and to counter Russian disinformation, part of a move to present the West as a much broader alliance than just the core G7 countries. And UK has sent 2 naval ships, HMS Severan and HMS Tamar, to patrol the British Channel island of Jersey. The move came after France suggested it could cut power supplies to the island. Jersey imports 95% of its electricity from France, with diesel generators and gas turbines providing backup. Jersey's government said France and the European Union had expressed their unhappiness with the conditions placed on the issuance of fishing licenses, while British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has pledged his unwavering support for the island after he spoke with Jersey officials about the prospect of the French blockade. Well, now let's move on to our next segment, which is Web News Review. Right, my colleague Abhishek Jha is with us. He is joining me to give us stories on Web News Review. Over to you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Abhishek, and morning. The first news that I have brought to you is from the Statesman, which said some Indians in UAE have started manufacturing oxygen cylinders in spite of CAG cylinders that they were already manufacturing, seeing the demand that has become inevitable in India to meet because of the rising crisis of COVID. So this is a story of how a few individuals, company who have started trying to help India in this hour of crisis, from the Statesman. The next news that I have brought to you is from Hindustan Times, where it has been actually explained how this third wave will be different from first 2 wave, and what all could be the reason, what all could be the impact, and how it is going to be the spread, it's spreading across various segments of our society, across country, and what could be the government's priorities in this time of third wave. So scientists are saying that third wave is inevitable and it will set in somewhere after the second wave is kind of over or very much died down. So we will have to continue to be braced up with this COVID pandemic and not let our guards down in the few months from now. The Indian Express is the next news which I am bringing to you. Is it has explained why US statement on waiving vaccine patent is important in fight against COVID-19. We know that IPR regulations are very strict in terms of sharing formula and the intellectual property of any vaccine or any drugs. And currently we know that as the world is fighting with this COVID pandemic, so Biden administration's promise of supporting the waiving of the IPR on the vaccines developed by USA comes a big relief, because USA had at least 3-4 vaccines which are very much available, and their efficacy is very huge. And from here onwards, we can see a few more countries, including India, Russia, and China, coming forward and waiving their IPR or intellectual property rights off from their developed vaccines, so that more and more facilities of manufacturing vaccines could be created across the globe, and world can have a more affordable, accessible, and sustainable vaccination program during the course of next few months to fight the COVID pandemic. The Pioneer has made news of Himachal Pradesh imposing curfew till May 16 to curb COVID. We have seen how various states are doing it on their own. We have seen how Punjab, Haryana, Bihar, UP in some parts have imposed restrictive movement and stringent movement restrictions and curb on various day-to-day activities to break the chain of spread. And Himachal is the latest state to join that fray, and it has also started to curb the movement, and the curfew has been imposed until the 6th May, so that people have less interaction and less mingling, and probably this will help in breaking the chain of COVID spread and help the state deal with this COVID pandemic. The Times of India is next newspaper that I am bringing to you. It has made use of US supplies of vaccine components to India to enable manufacturing of 2 crore doses of Covishield. We know that recently, like just a few days ago, Biden administration lifted the ban on those raw materials which were needed to manufacture the vaccines and other therapeutic drugs in India. And with the latest consignment of those raw materials being available to Indian manufacturing facilities of vaccines, we can hope that next tranche of Covishield vaccine will be ready too soon for us and for everybody who is waiting for this Covishield vaccine. And it is actually going to be a very helpful once every country, including USA, India, and every country is joining hands together in supplying and deregulating the stuff, so that more and more therapeutics, drugs, vaccines, and mechanical equipment and everything which is needed as a resource in fighting this COVID pandemic could be made available to wherever it is needed right now in most urgent situation. This is all from the web news review of Abhishek, and for more news, I'm back to you.
Thank you, Abhishek. Interesting stories that you took in web news review, and this third wave of third talks of COVID is really, really scary. Moving on, let's move on to our next segment, which is BizBuzz. The RBI has continued to calibrate its policy throughout the COVID pandemic, and the series of measures announced yesterday reflects a novel approach. The decision to create a dedicated Rs 50,000 crore fund for ramping up COVID-related healthcare infrastructure reflects RBI's commitment to transcend boundaries by addressing not only economic health but also public health. The decision to augment the lending firepower of small finance banks through priority sector tag is a very welcome move. The announcement of a restructuring framework for individuals and SMEs, the CRR flexibility of lending to SMEs, and the measures to help the state governments through WMA relaxation are all aimed to tide over the short-term disruptions to economic activity. So, in all, a very nuanced approach to managing the stress felt in the economy. And the State Bank of India chairman has approached RBI's announcement, saying the decision to augment the lending firepower of small finance banks through priority sector tag is a very welcome move. SBI chairman Dinesh Khara said the announcement of a restructuring framework for individuals and SMEs, the CRR flexibility for lending to SMEs, and the measures to help the state governments through WMA relaxation are all aimed to tide over the short-term disruptions to economic activity. And he added that in all, a very nuanced approach to managing the stress felt in the economy. Now, from business to our next segment, which is Sports Track. Football news. Chelsea boss Thomas Tuchel says Manchester City are the benchmark after his side secured a famous win over Real Madrid to set up an all-English Champions League final. The Blues beat the record 13-time European champions 2-0 at Stamford Bridge to win 3-1 on aggregate. Goals by Timo Werner and Mason Mount sent Chelsea into a Champions League final showdown. Chelsea will face Pep Guardiola's side Manchester City in Istanbul on 29th May. The final in Istanbul will be the second all-English Champions League final in 3 seasons. And now let's take a look at today's weather forecast. Under the influence of a western disturbances, scattered to fairly widespread rainfall, thunder shower very likely over western Himalayan region, and isolated to scattered rainfall, thunderstorms is likely over plains of northwest India during next 4 to 5 days. Isolated heavy rainfall is also very likely over Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh during next 24 hours. Now let's look at the temperature across India. So it's a reminder again to wear a face mask and follow government protocols, and don't lower your guard because the fight is big. And before we end this edition of Breakfast Show, we are leaving you with a glimpse of New York Botanical Garden, where Japanese avant-garde artist Yaoi Kusama has brought her spectacular steel floral installations painted in vibrant hues with polka dots. Take a look.